Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades for doing great things in our community, whether it's food insecurity or whether it's literacy, could be Alzheimer's or the homeless. They are there shoulder to shoulder. So pleased to have a return appearance by this cool cat, Wes Lundburg. He's the president of the San Diego Miramar College. How you doing, Wes?
I'm doing great, Drew. Thanks for having us back.
Oh, my goodness. The content you provided last time was top shelf, and I know it'll be the same this time, joined by one of your colleagues, a faculty member at San Diego Miramar College, Rodrigo Gomez. How you doing, Rodrigo?
Great. It's great to be here. It's a pleasure to be here in the studio and just to have a chance to talk, with the community, put a little out there on what Miramar's doing.
Well, listen, as Wes knows that we are huge fans of community colleges. We're fortunate enough in San Diego County to have some of the best in the country, if not the world for that matter, and anyone who's spent any time knowing what's going on in the world of community colleges that are innovative, are focused on great experiences, forward thinking, and everything in between on that. So I'm a product of a community college as well, joined by Noah Brady. Noah is my co-host. He's a music guy, but he's got a great background in education. His mom is the superintendent of the National School District. Noah, why don't you take it off with a question for Wes?
Yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of background on who you guys are as an organization and what makes Miramar College unique?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Noah. So we are one of 4 colleges in the San Diego Community College District, which is pretty much serving the city boundaries, if you will. And we are the northernmost one. Each campus has a very unique culture. Miramar, in more recent years, has really embraced innovation. So thanks for teasing that out, Drew.
Yeah.
And very forward thinking. I think our campus has really embraced that over the last couple of years. So when you asked me to bring a faculty member, Rodrigo's who popped to mind because he's doing fantastic work with AI. And we as a campus are embracing AI with the idea, there's a lot of fear about the ethical side and stuff. That's being built into what we're doing is the how do you do it right, and make sure that we keep those kind of safeguards in place. So as a college as a whole, that's what we're about, is meeting industry and meeting the community and students where they are and bringing all of that together to benefit all of us, frankly.
Well, you do, and the imprint you folks have from all types of students is huge. It leads them to career pathways. It leads them to wherever they're going to be. Rodrigo, how long have you been on faculty?
10 years plus 12 years now. It's been a while. It's I'll say officially 10 years.
10 years, very, very good. So talk about AI. So obviously some of the folks that have got some propensity for, what, we're going to give it to Rodrigo. He knows what his mind is on this over here. AI's been around for a long time. It's been called different things, as you well know, in this area, but it's getting so much steam and all that business. And, really kudos to President Lundburg and yourself. If you don't embrace it, boy, you're going to be left at the starting gate.
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I can actually start by saying that what's nice about the approach we're taking at Miramar is that it's faculty-led. So that's very important and student-centered. Absolutely, we're responding to the needs of the students. And my story in AI kind of goes actually back all the way to 2023. November 2022, AI is emerging. ChatGPT drops. I'm playing with it all night going, what is this technology? I take it into the classroom the very next day. showed it to my students. They're like, what is this and why are you showing us this, right? Like, professor, am I going to now be able to cheat on this assignment in this way? And that really was the first question they had.
Right.
I was more interested in the sort of literary Calvino side of things, which is like, what happens when you put computers with literature and you can sort of create machines that can write, and will we ever have a machine that will replace the author? Was his big question in like 1967. So I'm approaching it from that angle. I'm talking to my students about AI as this new rhetorical machine, right? And we had really great conversations, and I realized, oh man, they're going to go out now into a college ecosystem across SDCCD, because our students are all over the district, that is not aptly prepared to deal with AI, because it literally came out yesterday, and oh my God, look at what it can do. So all those conversations that I had with students led to a lot of interesting discussions about authorship and agency and how to do it ethically if there was even a way. And we had those conversations in 2023. So, I see everything that happened through 2022 and 2023, and then even now 2024, 2025. Like the conversation has shifted a bit, but we decided at Miramar, you know what, I'm going to go out there. Our community is going to go out there. Our community of educators are going to go out there and just teach this stuff. How do you use it? How do you misuse it? What does it mean to misuse it? How does it even work? It was a lot of definitions, a lot of like advanced prompting that became a thing. And then that kind of went away now in this agentic wave that we're in. And so that's where we're leaning now. But we did on the faculty driven side, we made a group on campus that is interdisciplinary. And we were just meeting. We met for eight sessions, a community of inquiry and a community of practice, a joint session, very restorative in nature. So we were taking a very where's everyone's concerns at? What are your fears for this technology? Maybe some misunderstandings about it. And we just hit the ground running from there. And it was great, honestly. Critical discussions, both positive and negative, everything that you really need for an objective conversation. And always, again, putting the students at the forefront of that, me acknowledging what I did in that class and the need for like AI policies in your syllabus, the need for an AI definition for like how much AI for this assignment or how little, right? These are small things that the students were now going to need in a classroom that, allows zero AI. Then even the student that opens up the tech is a cheater, can be turned into a there's this very like policing mentality that they feel. The data shows they're like, this is the biggest concern, that we're being unethical users. And in fact, when you look at the data, it's like, oh, they're using it to summarize things, to demystify things, to maybe understand your very complex assignments a little bit better. And I'm guilty of that as someone who loves rhetoric. I'm like, that was probably a little too wordy, a little too confusing. And so they ran it through, and now it's more simple for them to understand.
Yeah, we use it here at our Cloudcast Media and with all the shows that we're doing, especially on my Spotlight show, and then my producer Ian Solomon will go ahead and get the AI notes for it, send it to me. He does a great job in sort of culling these things down, and takes me 2 seconds, and it's off and running in this area. So that is the way we love it, that way, and there's 65 different other ways they're doing it.
Yeah.
But before I turn back over to Noah for some questions, because he's a musician, I want to see how he uses AI when it comes to music and all that business. But Rodrigo, I'll ask you this, and then I want Wes to jump in as well. Do you talk about how AI is used in sort of pathways and careers in this aspect of it? We all know there's some stories of this going to replace humans, but it can't out-human humans. We all know that. My business partner and the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media did a great session at our summit on this with his mom on AI and humanity and all that. So talk about that. I'll start with you, Rodrigo.
Could you kind of paraphrase the question a little bit?
Well, so we all know that AI is being used in, I don't know, pick a career, right?
Okay.
4 billion of them. And do we talk about, here's some things we need to be aware of how it can turn these types of careers upside down, or here's how they can benefit those careers.
Yes.
In that aspect of it. Can't fear it, just have to know what it can do.
Absolutely. So yes, you have to, I think, be very realistic about where the technology is, where it's going, and that actually has been the sort of call to define the thing and what's possible through it, because there was a lot of misconception early on about what it could do. A lot of hype when you look at social media reels and things like that. It's like, whoa, it's capable of what? Not quite, right? That's very expensive usage actually, or you're using high level tools that people are spending, $600 plus to install an OpenClaw bot that can check your email. Really, it's like a high-level assistant to that degree. So definitely a realistic take on what jobs will it impact? What jobs might it displace entirely, like previous technologies that came through have done?
That's right.
So really a grounded conversation that's very objective and very grounded in the research that's available. And of course, I hear that you're using it for music. That's amazing. Like, let's talk.
You're not using it yet?
Maybe not. Okay,
Absolutely not.
But
I'm
let's.
so sorry, but
You don't do it for lyrics at all?
no, definitely not. I'll get into that. I want to let you finish, but
fair.
There is a lot that does impact my life as a musician with regards to AI.
Indeed. So I'll just say grounding the conversation in reality is absolutely a must. And, there was that tweet that came out by Jack Dorsey not too long ago. He fired like 4,000 developers.
Yes.
Just immediately. And I'm like, these are high-level developers that know a lot of coding, a lot of AI development. They probably will filter down to other companies to work in high-level positions. But, man, that's 4,000 jobs that were just displaced immediately.
Correct.
Because of this new AI wave. So how could I stand in front of my students and not talk to them about AI as an English professor who is working on writing? Like, it's here, it's there. And just to a point you made before, there is a discrepancy between the professional use of AI and the academic use of AI. And so in the professional landscape, go ahead, use it to your heart's content. In the academic space, well, we got to be a little more cautious. Maybe don't plagiarize. Let's make sure you're being ethical. Just different concerns. But I think the ground concern is what's the real conversation? What's really possible here?
Right. And so before I turn it over to Noah and his thoughts on it from a music standpoint, so Wes, you must be getting this all the time from your colleagues that are presidents of the community colleges throughout the region at all. Do you guys have discussions at your level about how you folks are using it, whether it's at Miramar, whether it's at it's at Mesa, or fill in the blank?
Yeah, it's not hit the admin level so much yet.
Okay.
Except there's sort of a mid-level that's not talking about it, put it that way. And that's right where I am.
Okay.
Excuse me. At the state level, we're starting to lean into the AI and what's happening there. In fact, we have some representatives from Miramar that are participating in that statewide effort, including a dean. So the conversations are not quite happening yet. As Rodrigo said, it's starting with the faculty.
Right.
Most of us see our jobs as empowering and equipping.
Right.
So when things come forward, then we figure out how to help make that work. But you alluded to something a moment ago that I want to come back to,
Please.
and that is the whole pathway idea.
Right.
We're community colleges do really well with meeting students, high school or wherever they're coming from, and I'm intrigued by the idea of homeschools and tapping into that and building pathways for folks who are coming from that corner of the world. But Miramar is one of the we just 5-6 years ago were behind everybody on creating pathways. Guided pathways is the actual effort, and there's a framework that we follow. Now we're the poster child. We're being put out there as the leaders for that. Yeah, thank you. But where I'm going with that is this is where my role comes into the whole AI thing, and what Rodrigo and the faculty are doing is to figure out administratively how do we support this and how do we build that into our pathway framework so that we're using AI and exposing students to it as they come to us and helping them see where that fits in their future and their career as they go. We're not just interested in students to graduation. We want to follow them into the workplace.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that has always set community colleges, apart. And that's not, my 4-year school friends always look at me and say, "We do the same thing." I said, "I know you do. There's no knock on you folks, but it just, seems to me that you folks you're going to follow them forever." Okay, and not only you don't have a choice because they're going to come back and work for you guys anyway, and they're going to be advocates as well. When we come back from break, I want to hear Noah's thoughts on AI in the music industry as well. And we always save some time, as Wes knows, Rodrigo. What can our listeners do to continue to enhance what you're doing at Miramar College when we return after this short break?
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit. So we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades plus of doing great things in the community. Always good to have return appearances from our leaders in the community college space. And we got Wes Lundburg, president of San Diego Miramar College, joined by his colleague Rodrigo Gomez, faculty member at San Diego Miramar College. And I'm joined by my co-host, Noah Brady. Okay, so I know you were passionate about adding your 2 cents. We'll even give you change back on the AI and music.
Well, thank you, Drew. Well, first of all, I want to say when it comes to the ethicality of AI, I think going into art, like what you were saying, plagiarizing, I think that there is significant moral folly in leaning on AI as a crutch for the arts. And especially in universities around the world, we use universities not just as a place to educate ourselves on the formal, academia, but also the arts. And literature is very much a part of the arts, which is why these large language models are kind of taking away some of the agency of our students. And, so I'm 24, and in my 3rd year of university is really when ChatGPT came out to the public as something that everybody was talking about. And I remember at its infancy just finding it and being like, wow, oh my God, this is going to save me so much time on all of my homework. And it did. I had to do the dance of figuring out how much should I use this and at what point does it become abusing it. And I had a lot of conversations with my mom about it. My mom, being an educator, when it first came out, she was vehemently against it. And now she has embraced it and has figured out how to use it in different ways. And we joke around all the time about how you can spot when someone just blatantly uses AI. It's very unnatural in the way that it speaks. It's very robotic. And so she can tell when one of her staff emails her an AI-generated email. She's like, look, we all can use this as a tool. And if you want to use it to write your emails, that's fine. But make it your own. And I think that that's kind of the dance that we all have to do with it, because we have been using AI for way longer than we all realize. A huge example of that is spell check. I mean, we've forgotten how to spell. I'm going to be so honest with you guys. I misspell everything all the time. But it's okay, kinda, because my phone won't let me misspell things. And we don't really know what the future of this looks like. But I do think it's important for students to learn and grow with it. Because at the end of the day, this is a tool that is going to be a part of our lives for the foreseeable future. And all the children growing up right now are growing up with it. They won't know a reality without it. So how can we integrate it into our lessons within academia? And then how can we prepare people for the real world that is very much becoming more and more AI driven?
Yeah, so I'll start with the work with AI in creative spaces. And imagination and creativity, I think, are an interesting place to take this conversation with defining both, right? So, like, what does it mean to hallucinate?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my
Like, what does
God.
it mean to hallucinate? And to say that the machine is hallucinating is to say, well, you know, I watched my son draw. He's 4 years old, and I'm certainly not a blob with stick arms.
Yeah.
But that's his best interpretation of, like, what I am. And I certainly don't have 3 fingers on this stick arm, but, like, that's his interpretation of what a human hand looks like at the time. It's very infant.
Right.
I feel like that's where AI was at its infancy, when you were very obviously, you could see it and say, that's got a 6th limb, that's got a weird thing over here. It's visually very easy to tell.
Yeah.
By this point, the quality is far superior. You really can't tell. And so one of the things that I actually do in my classes with my students is show them artwork that I make with AI and ask them the question, show me the tell. Show me where the AI tell is.
Right.
And so we work with a little artwork because I want to show them, like, let's say you wanted to be a graphic artist. Are you more or less prepared for the emerging market if you have AI at your disposal? Right? You are absolutely, the output is definitely only as good as the input. I would certainly agree with that. If you already have vision, critical thinking, metacognitive thinking, by the way, is the answer to your question about how do we do this well.
Right.
It's like
Exactly.
you really need to go back to teaching people about what it means to think.
Right.
Like, how do we think? And really my argument has been that the internet changed our relationship to information.
Yeah.
AI is changing our relationship to thinking.
Well, it's like you have to teach people how to prompt AI, just like people have to learn how to search on Google.
Yeah.
You know, you give, a very old person a cell phone and they've never used Google before.
Right.
They don't even know.
Are you looking at me,
necessarily.
Noah, when you say an old
Oh,
person?
directly at you.
Well, funny enough, on the Google thing, right? Most people would look at that bar at the bottom of the ChatGPT thing, right? The LLM, and say, "Oh, this is a Google search bar. I got to treat it that way."
Right.
It's like, no, that's not how you use this one, actually, and it's improper usage. You should contextualize more. You should add more details. You should treat it more like a prompt. But that was new. A new discourse is emerging, and I think it's AI driven.
Exactly.
So if we can equip our students with this new literacy, that's my argument for maybe you as the individual will know to what extent to take it if you want to be creative with it or not.
Yeah.
Like I write lyrics all the time. I have a guitar, but I don't play it. Not as often as I would like to. I'm very busy. So I'm like, you know what? Let me put my lyrics into this machine that I know will create the ambiance around the lyrics.
Right.
And that is a more collaborative thing. And then you find out that in California, there's a law that is currently passed that you can't copyright things that are half AI made. So wonderful. I know that this is just for creative expression. I get to showcase these lyrics in some capacity, maybe express myself creatively using this AI technology. But I likewise would say that it shouldn't hinder your creativity and it shouldn't get in the way of your thinking, or you're doing it wrong. So we need to go back to metacognitive thinking, metacognitive questions, just critical usage and ethical usage, of course, but like high level thinking about this technology, because it's not a simple tool.
And you bring up something really interesting, especially within music, with the copyright laws. While I don't use AI in my music, there are plenty of corporations that are creating AI songs and putting them on Spotify playlists or Apple Music playlists to generate streams and to generate revenue. These aren't musicians making music for the love of music and trying to share their art, but rather a ploy to make money off of the backs of artists who are already making no money in the music industry, which is why I think within the arts, but especially the music industry, we are terribly affected by AI, and it's genuinely a threat, and not in the way that you'd expect it in other areas of the workforce, because we aren't the workforce. As artists, we are a completely different sector of the working world, and it's becoming increasingly harder to make money within the industry, and AI is not taking musicians' jobs away, per se, but it's just adding an extra layer of difficulty to generate revenue from your art and to be able to succeed.
Yeah, I think whether it's music or whether it's journalism in my background, or whether pick a topic and something else, that's something that So great, Rodrigo. You're mindful of all this, and of course, Wes, that this is important. This is the future. Future is now. We don't know what's going to change in a few minutes or so. Drew Schlosberg, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Just so thrilled to have back in the studio with us today Wes Lundburg, president of San Diego Miramar College, joined by his colleague Rodrigo Gomez, faculty member, expert on AI. I want to just get back as a whole, just to the whole premise of what you folks are doing in the community colleges, and have been and continue to do, especially at Miramar College. Listen, when you are looking at that student, and whether the student is 18 and the student is 48, doesn't make a difference. You have a wide swath of those folks. Talk about why someone should really consider going to community college as a whole, Wes, but certainly Miramar College specifically.
One of the things I love about talking with you, Drew, is you ask the greatest questions. It's like you give me something that I want to talk about.
Oh, that's thank you.
You said when you look at students, the first thing I would say about community colleges is when we look at the students that come in, we see them. We see them for who they are and what their possibilities are, and we see our roles coming alongside them and guiding them to what their potential is. I'm not sure that other sectors you would do that. You're a number. You're coming through. They want to, put you out there so that they can brag about what you did or whatever. That's not what we're about. We're about helping you find what your path is and getting you on that path so that you can be successful and giving you the tools that you need. And as you're listening to Rodrigo, I'm sure you're hearing the same thing I am. He's leaning into that with AI and saying how, if the work world of the future is going to have AI, what's that look like, and how can we best get students ready for that? That's our job. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and because of your folks' connections, the faculty has always been, in my opinion, in community colleges, top shelf. You guys are great. You guys are great teachers. That's what you do. You teach, right? Not that you don't do research. I understand that in this aspect of it. But your connections to the businesses, we talked about this before, Wes, in the region, okay, whether it's the chambers in your area or it's the local businesses, and the opportunities to open that door with that AI student or something like that. And somebody, hey, I need someone, and Rodrigo goes, okay, I got a student in my class that'd be great to fit in here, what you're doing down the road. Our goal, hopefully, is to keep as many of those bright students here in San Diego, giving them those high-paying jobs so they can actually afford to live in San Diego.
Yes.
But that's what, listen, you folks do that all the time, with the community colleges. So I'll start with you on this, Rodrigo, and pivot over to Wes. We've been doing this show for quite a while here. Our audience tends to give back pretty good, if nothing else, being an advocate. What can our audience do to support what you're doing, Rodrigo, in the classroom?
I mean, definitely check out the resources that Miramar College will be putting out very soon. We have, again, a faculty-driven, student-centered approach to AI that's not exactly the same approach that everyone else is taking. We are leaning into trusting students and supporting their growth, and like Wes was saying, maybe helping to prepare them for what is coming, and in a lot of ways is already here. I gave a presentation very recently called "The Present is Agentic," not "The Future is Agentic," because agentic is the thing to prepare people for. So I think just hit our website. Check out our website. Check out what we're doing. What we're putting up there is relevant information for the community. Go take a class at Miramar. We're working on new courses that may be more AI powered in the near future. So check it out. And if you have concerns or questions, I think it's great to bring those concerns and questions to your local community college or local educational group, because we, again, are the ones working at preparing the next generation.
Yeah, and Wes, I'm going to invite you back again, and then you'll choose another one of your phenomenal faculty members to talk about these things, because I really think Charles and I both believe in, having a consistent method of a minimum of once a quarter, shining a light on what we could do it every single day and still not hit what you folks are doing. Yes. But our audience really loves to hear these types of stories and the opportunities that they're not aware of, that the community colleges are open. What else can we do?
It's interesting, because I was thinking about the parallel between, you were saying, how can people help?
Yeah.
we meet students where they are. We also meet helping hands where they are. So, if somebody doesn't have time, but they have a lot of money, we have foundations. That's what you had us on here for last time.
That's right.
And we're always willing to meet a donor where they are and find out what your interests are, and then plug that into where the need is, because there are needs. For the public at large, help us educate folks that community colleges shouldn't be a second choice. They really should be the first choice. It's amazing how often I hear students at graduation time say, I came here because I didn't get accepted here or there. And they say, now I'm so glad I'm here. This, if I had it to do again, this would be my first choice. So help folks understand. We're really about you.
Well, with the explosion in dual enrollment, which wasn't there when I was going to school, which is not a surprise. It was 4 billion years ago. Where you graduate from high school with an A degree. Are you kidding me? And understand the college experience, and then are just like 10 feet up on what the next step is. That is just an absolute gift that you guys provide. It doesn't make a difference what stage the person comes in, or opening up that door, whether it's an AI field or not, or it's things we haven't even thought of yet in this area. You guys are laser beamed on what the jobs will look like in the future in our region. I know you work closely with the Workforce Partnership. That's something that's bred in you folks in that area. So just can't thank you enough, Wes, for coming in and bringing in someone like a Rodrigo just on top of his game with AI. And just expect an email from me saying we're going to look forward to having you back on if you're willing.
Always willing.
In a few months. So Wes Lundburg, thank you for what you do for our community and, of course, the Miramar College. And I know those students of yours, Rodrigo, are probably want to come back and never graduate and do all that. Noah, nice job. What do you think of your latest experience being a co-host?
It's been great, and thank you so much for having me back. Hope to be here in the future.
You're going to be here as many times as you want. I'm Drew Schlosberg at Cloudcast Media. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.